This is a general question I usually ask everybody. So what does fatherhood mean to you?
Sure. I see fatherhood, Gabe, as offering the next generation guidance on how to interact with certainly maybe women in the dynamic, right? Maybe a spouse or a significant other.
Right.
Being a resource or someone to cry on, right? It's not always, being out there and throwing catch, but sometimes it's helping your son, or in many circumstances it could be somebody else's son or a biological son, and helping them get through tough situations, offering advice, and being an individual that is available to be supported. So that's how I see fatherhood.
Kind of like where you're going at with that, because you said even if it's not your son or maybe your daughter, just helping someone else's kid, in a sense. And to me, kind of brought it out a little bit in the previous episode. It's kind of like that office of being a father, not necessarily maybe having a biological kid of your own, but like operating in that office of a father, helping somebody, like you said, teaching, people how, or teaching kids, the next generation, maybe how to do something or how something is done according to their perspective. Yeah. So what about you, Ty? What's a father to you?
Well, being that I'm a new father, relatively new mind.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks a lot. My little Isaac is 14 months years old, so definitely as a Christian, there's a lot of prayer, because in being a father, it requires a lot of patience, especially with all of the attention and care that such a young child needs.
Right.
It's really a selfless act.
Wow.
It's because it's a transition. When you're single, the focus is on you and your goals. Then when you're married, it's you and your wife, and you're learning how to become one and compromise and things of that nature. And then the next phase, when you add in a child, it's you three. So it's trying to still be goal-oriented as a man, because you do want to be a good example to your son, and as the head of the household to your wife, and whoever is under your household, and you still want to keep your marriage strong. You want to show your son, your daughter, whoever, what a healthy marriage looks like too, because your child is going to see what you're doing. It's not just what you say, but it's what you model as well.
Wow, so what you do.
Yeah.
So I want to piggyback off something you just said, and I'll throw it to you, that you said being head of a household. And so throwing it to you, what is head of the household? I know a lot of guys, especially growing up, like, I'm the head of the house, so you do what I say. I put my foot down, this is my house. How do you view head of household?
Well, let me first of all say congratulations to you being a new father, and of course I'm an old father. It's a joyous journey, and let me segue a little bit into what you're saying in terms of, I'll just use the term role modeling. We communicate in more than one way, not only verbally, what we're telling our kids, do that or don't do this, or what about this or that. Also non-verbally, we are role modeling for our kids, because as you said, your child is observing you, and observation is one way of learning. Of course, I think we all should know that. When a child can't speak the language, the child is too young, the child is like staring right at dad or staring at mom, and the child first kind of observe what's going on and pick up from that. But in terms of your question of fatherhood and kind of what that means to me and the head of the family, we live in a sort of a patriarchal society, and I think that's up to a large extent is based on more than one thing. I think it's based on Christianity, in that the Bible teaches that God made Adam and then Eve, and the idea that the man is the head, he's made in the image of God, and the woman is made in the image of man. This being a somewhat nation with a lot of Christians in it, not a Christian nation, a nation with a lot of Christians in it, because that's the difference there. And because a lot of Christians, of course, we have kind of embraced and ingested or the Christian idea of manhood, fatherhood. The man is first, he's the head, etc. That also means that being the head, he looks out for his family. He's just using an old term, being the breadwinner, meaning that you're responsible for your family and for your wife and children if you have children, and you're the main person going out making sure that they have housing and food and clothes, etc. It also means, now this may be a little stereotypical, but oftentimes it's said, or maybe it's taught in some way, that women tend to be a little bit more emotional and they may make decisions based on emotions, and men may be a little bit more logical and analytical and rational, that a man may make decisions based on logic, based on deductive reasoning or logical approach to problems. And to some extent, I think that we can't rule that out. Women tend to cry more easily than men. And what's reinforced, acculturation, what's reinforced in our society, that if you see a man 21, 25 years old and he's crying because something came up, then he's perceived as a weak man. No, boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. Be a man. We kind of grew up with that sort of a reinforcing, that sort of a what being a man is all about, what being tough is all about. You don't show all of that emotion, and what have you. So that, to a large extent, I think being the head means that. One last, idea on being the head. Naturally, so let me move from Christianity to maybe, or religion to just physical, biological, anatomy, etc., etc. Generally speaking, this is not specific. Generally speaking, men are stronger than women. They have more upper body strength than women do. Generally speaking, men are taller than women. Generally speaking, men are faster than women are. And that's natural, even if there was not a God. If we're looking at just nature, well, what the head means, you look in the animal kingdom. And for most of the animals, you look at a lion pride and the male lion, or if you're looking at buffaloes or wildebeest, the male is usually bigger, stronger, and can have his way, whether there's a God or not. So physically, biologically, naturally, males tend to be stronger, bigger, faster, and such like. So I think in that sense, being the head in more than one respect, it's kind of means being the head.
I want to hold on to that same thought, and I'm gonna throw this to you, John. First of all, congratulations on retirement. Retirement. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But as well as you on the road to be married. So here's my question to you, just piggybacking on the thought of men being the head. How would you feel? And I know a lot of men, they think they don't feel as much, but they think first. But how would you feel if your fiance, whom you proposed to you?
Wow. Okay. So.
I mean,
I personally, and I'm just going to speak in a personal sense. Everybody's free to do what they like, and I know that, in this day and age, women are stepping into different roles and doing things a little bit more, whether it's military, whether it's, driving, the big rigs, or, they're doing a lot more. Back a long time ago, I think it's right before, was it World War II? Women were more traditionally in the house.
Right.
And as they went off to war, women had to take on roles, working in the factories, making the bullets, doing things like that. So, the men came back, all the jobs were taken,
right,
things of that nature. So women really started coming in the workforce. So the mentality of a woman, I think, kind of shifted a little bit from back in the past up till now. So the question is relevant, what you're asking, how would I feel if my fiance proposed to me? Because there probably are women out there that's doing that.
Yeah.
And I can respect that. I still think that that's the man's role to do.
Can you elaborate just a little bit on why you?
The reason I feel that way is because women to me are supposed to be a bit more submissive, a bit more.
Oh, you're going to get it on that. From
Yeah.
Explain yourself. Wait a minute. Man.
Yeah.
That's why people just like put their eyes down, like, oh, man, who said that?
All right, so
We'll cover for you.
when you say
got you
submissive, what do you mean submissive as far as like being
I'm not
below?
saying that you got to cow down to your husband or your significant other, but submissive in the sense of, not going tick for tack or, just, wanting to be so headstrong that you can't, come to a happy medium.
Right.
You can't come to some type of agreement.
Right.
I just, I don't believe in the. It's good for women to be, what we call headstrong or a strong personality. I wouldn't want a wife that's just a pushover and just going to be a yes woman or whatever.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't need somebody that's going to, every move I make going
Run
to
you,
give,
challenge it.
like you can't get ahead. You can't move forward, with a woman that aggressive. I can't. Everybody has different, personalities and everything like that. But even the Bible said that a woman is supposed to be submissive and submit to your husband. Yeah.
Well, let me interject here. And the Bible does says that we should listen to each other or what have you. But since we live in a nation with overwhelmingly Christian-minded people, they take their cue from the Bible, from Christianity.
Right.
And if you go right back to the Bible, and we can't overlook that. We can't say, oh, we live in a free society. Perhaps we do, but we all are being influenced by something, even the women of today. Women of the day, in terms of being aggressive or maybe being more academically inclined to go to college and kind of outrate men in that sense, that's all because of technology. If you think about it, technology, I would say 100 years ago, maybe when women or families were like large families, 10 in the family, 14 in the family. And I do have the experience of knowing people when I was growing up, 14 in the family. Well, what would it look like, mom and dad out trying to make a living or what have you? But because of technological advances, we're in washing dishes and washing clothes on the hand and chopping wood to
Machines
cook.
kind of took it over.
Absolutely. So since robots or machine took it over, women are now more free to do other things or what have you. And then the society we live in, we push strongly, this country pushes strongly about equality, et cetera, et cetera. So I think technology plays a huge role in where we are today in terms of women and men and what women can or cannot do and what men can or should not do. Technology is one of those things. Maybe not everything, but one of those things, I believe.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, in terms of submission, I agree with all what's being said. My mind goes to where the Bible mentions submitting one unto another.
Yeah.
So, and another thing I'm thinking of in terms of leadership in regards to a servitude approach.
Yeah.
Like Jesus, he washed the disciples' feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's really humbling. That's a humbling example. Jesus was the ultimate leader. He was the example of leadership. So the Bible also says, in terms of the husband, love your wife like Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
So you're willing to die for your wife.
Do you mean that in a physical sense, or spiritual, or what does die mean to
it's
you? At that?
Both. So it could be the literal die, like you're willing to die for your wife. Like if somebody broke into your house,
put
that
your
type
life
of
on
thing. Yeah, you'll wrestle
what
with the
if-
individual physically, but also there's a spiritual component too.
Okay.
Where you have to die to some of your perspective, and that's where some of the compromise comes in. Because like I said earlier, from being single to being married to having a child, like there's a level of compromise at each level, and as you're incorporating her perspective, because the Bible says live in understanding with your wife, so you have to be slow to speak and quick to listen, so you have to be willing to listen to her to see where she's coming from.
Now, I saw this commercial, not to cut you off.
Yeah, no problem.
I saw this commercial, right? And you guys probably saw it too. And it was a woman, she's complaining. And the way that they had the camera, it was behind her. And the guy was sitting there holding her hand like, yes, baby. And as the camera panned around, she's like, my head, I just got this massive headache. And oh my God, I just can't stop. I need her. So she's going on. And as the camera panned around, you saw a nail in her head. And the guy was like trying to get in. She was like, no, shut up, just listen to me. And she's talking, she's like, my head, I just got this pounding headache. He said, baby. And once he got a word, he was like, there's a nail right in you. He's like, I can pull it out. She's like, shut up about the nail. It's not about the nail, it's about my feelings and what. So in that sense, I want to ask that, what if you have a woman, like that example, right? And I'm speaking from experience here, that you said, hey, you got to die for your woman. What if your woman is so bold, big-headed, and just boisterous, right, that she does something to put you guys in a crazy predicament? Let's say you're sitting somewhere and your wife is like one of these rude persons, right? And she says something, you go to the bathroom, she says something to somebody rude, you get back the guy or whatever, they kind of going at her, and you're like, hey, you gonna let these guys talk to me like this?
Let me take a crack at that, and of course,
Go ahead.
since I'm the senior citizen here and what have you, and I kind of like to look beyond maybe why are we the way we are?
All right.
For what reason? What's the premise? For us being whatever. So let me get into division of labor. If you have a gang of 15 persons working in a factory or working in some industry, and you don't kind of like, divide the labor up. You're the administrative assistant, you are the COO, you are the CEO, then it'll be chaos. It'll be chaotic. Who does what have you?
Right.
Even if those individuals are equally smart, equally strong, or what have you. Division of labor is very important. When it comes to a family, or husband and wife, as you're saying, husband and wife and what have you, if it's just two persons, they have to, in order for things to flow most smoothly, in order for things to be done and gotten done or what have you, I think a husband and wife need to kind of decide on some sort of a who does what. If I'm the wife and part of my primary responsibility may be to cook and clean. It doesn't mean that I can't cook and clean as a man, or I can't do that. It just means that primarily speaking, you're doing that. For me, primarily speaking, it may be, okay, I'll cut the grass, I will take the garbage out, or what have you. Not that she can't do any of those things, but once we have an understanding, and I kind of end my little part with the military. You will never go in the military and end up with a mob. You end up with a militia. A mob who will be defeated facing the enemy, because everybody's doing what comes to their own mind. But when you're in the military, and you have a commander, and you have a captain, and you have drill sergeant, and all like that, then you have a militia, and you can fight the enemy. So I think I can take that example and many other examples we can use. The police department, colleges, universities. You have to have some sort of order. You have to have a division of labor, who's what, who does what, so that things can flow most smoothly. So husband and wife, even if they're equal in speaking genetically and speaking DNA, they are equal. I mean, when it comes to the DNA and who contributes what percentage to a new creation, the man and the woman both equally on the 13th chromosome, which is the sex gene. Man does have, the woman does have. So biologically equal, but when it comes to like, let's have a smooth operation, let's get things done, you do this, I will do that, or what have you. And I think that speaking in that way, it just makes for something more smoother.
Let's let Axel go
Go ahead.
first.
Yeah, sure.
So sort of playing the space a little bit, I might be, I wouldn't say on the opposite side of the coin, but sort of view things from a different perspective. Regarding the having my wife, if she had proposed to me,
Yeah.
I would have actually been okay with that.
Yeah.
The way we went about it was much more important for me to propose, and so absolutely, it's about us, right? And because it's much more important to her than it is for me to be indifferent about it. That's the direction that we went. Regarding sort of being submissive, I very much work to push my wife in that we are both trying to drive and be more as a couple together. one area that I was sort of thinking about spaces where would I, if the world was neutral, would I be, how would I be queasy about anything? The one that came up, but me and my wife would certainly talk about it, is if she wanted me to have her last name when we got married. It would have been something where...
That was my next question.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's cool. But no, I mean, in my marriage, while Adina would pushes for gender roles, we both get out there and cut the grass.
I'm pretty sure you make sure that.
Like, oh man, I came home from Chicago. It looks like the grass needs cutting. Let's go. But also, in all seriousness, right? And tying this back to fatherhood, one of the areas we're really trying to figure out is if we have a son or a daughter, and someone needs to stay home, right? What does that look like? Is it me who stays home because I'm supposed to stay home because, or is it her that stays home because she's supposed to, and I'm supposed to continue going on to work? What if her business is taking off, right? And it's better for me to take a step back and let her career run, and I just manage the household because it's better for both of us.
Well,
Right.
and I don't want to usurp your job, but there are a lot of millennial and younger couples that do what you're saying.
Yeah.
If the wife makes more money, we moving to New York. Yeah, but we here in Louisiana. Yes, but I make more money than you do. We moving to New York, or we moving to Chicago. And the man follows the woman, and what have you. Now, maybe a good episode would be that a lot of us come from a Christian perspective, from a matriarchal perspective. Man is the head, whatever. Animal kingdom, the male animal is stronger, faster. He's the protector. I don't think a lion study any book to say, well, you're supposed to protect the pride, whatever. Instinctually, it just kind of who the lion is, what he does that. And I guess we could take cues from animals who maybe don't speak English, they have their own language or what have you. But more and more people or couples, the younger couples, are going that route you're talking about. And perhaps they're coming from, again, for me, I'm coming from a more of that's what the Bible said. I hear you saying the same thing, Christianity, Jesus teaches that. It'd be great to have an episode where a group of young couples or maybe men, we're not into Jesus and we're not into Christianity, and let's just kind of explore, see how things go. But last but not least for me, long term, what that looks like across 100 years. Because sometimes things seem pretty good right now and wonderful and what have you. But we have, in terms of say, an ecosystem or system where everything kind of fits across thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, things have kind of worked out and what have you. And all of a sudden, man, I think you and I had this conversation, man toys with one little gene. And he doesn't know that he's disrupting a system that it took maybe 50,000 years to kind of equalize or work out or what have you. So it may sound good, it may sound wonderful expression in the ears of women to say, me and my wife, and she has, she can do this, she can do that. But across 100 years, what about children growing up? In terms of who they are, their self-identity, where they are in the world, how they see their parents, and what have you. So there are long-term repercussions, I think, that we should also fully be aware of.
I just wanted to add, so in tying your earlier question about a wife getting you in a predicament, a crazy predicament, if you will, like the nail in the head situation. I don't want to talk about the nail, right? That type of thing, right? Just listen to me. Going back to what Axel said is, it sounds as though in the courting process, so this is the important is the courting process. When you're dating, you're talking, you're finding out her perspective. So
now,
Axel,
not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
When you say courting, what do you mean?
Yeah, define.
For me, my relationship with Pam was long distance. So my idea was courting was a lot of phone conversations. So I would visit her like once a month, or she would come and visit me. I had a little more flexibility because of my employment situation, but once a month I'd visit her for like a week or something like that. So we'd spend time together, going out to places, and but a lot of it was conversing. So I was really getting to her head, she was getting into my head.
Learning each other.
Right, we were learning one another. So to Axel's point, just me knowing and learning Pam, I knew that it was important for her for me to propose. We were on that same page anyways. So Axel found that out in advance, so it wouldn't be it wasn't a surprise to Pam. I mean, it was a surprise that when I proposed to her, because I wanted to make it special, that type of thing. But it wasn't like she was going to propose to me, because I had figured that out in advance. So the other thing too, to answer your earlier question in terms of your wife getting you into a predicament, of course there's going to be challenges in any type of relationships, but I think it's really important to take that time to really get to know her.
Yeah.
And also I would say getting some counseling as well in advance, whether it be from a pastor, from a professional, that type of thing, so that you can work out kinks in advance, so there won't be any huge surprises after the marriage, because it's worth that investment, you know.
Right.
So I just wanted to kind of say those type of things, so there won't be surprises, even though in marriage, like I said, there will be
It's a
challenges
learning,
that come up, and you're going to learn one another.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
The good part about what you're talking about there is, I think that it's good to get to know the person that you're going to be with. You know, I don't know how you guys feel about somebody, say, meeting, you know, person A meets person B. It's 3 months, they move in 6 months, getting married. To me, that's kind of like, that's really quick, and that's moving kind of fast. And to each his own. I know people that does that, but I think you're probably on a good high for about 2 years, and then that's when the curtains close. You really get to know the essence of that person. You really get to know if these little things, you know, is it going to bother me, or, you know, does this sit well with me?
Well, I married your mom in 8 months.
Oh yeah, you did. And it's been 40-something years, right?
When you know, you know.
hey, that's part of it.
But let me just add
but it
this.
wasn't 8 weeks though. That's the difference. You did court for a little while.
Let me add this. Both of us were already focused and had a major, I don't know what you would call it, just a major commitment to an ideology, a way of life. She was major into that. I was major into that. We met. One of the reasons why I didn't want to go through what you're calling courting, getting to know the person, because I would say about 80% I already knew what she was committed to, her way of thinking, and things of that sort. And because I was who I was and sort of the same philosophy or the same ideology, she kind of knew that. So the other little 20% or whatever. But courting a long time, of course, that, again, I'm the baby boomer, real old, just living together because I subscribe to Christianity and subscribe to certain standards, etc. Just living together was something that I was not going to do, and she was not going to do that
Could
either.
I just add too, in terms of courting, like, it doesn't have to take a really long time. So yours was 8 months you were married. Mine was about 9 months I was married.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, because I met.
You okay? 9 months?
Wait, was it? I met her in March.
A year and 9 months?
Yeah, I met her in March, and we were married. Like it was October.
I just need to ask Pam.
Wait, I have to do the math, but it didn't take long. That's the point.
Well,
It was under. My point is, it was under a year. I could do the math later.
Right.
But the thing is, I was at an age and a maturity, and Pam was at an age and maturity that we both knew what we wanted.
Kinda knew
What
what
you're
you
looking
Yeah,
for.
so it doesn't have to take a really long time. But and Pam and I, we were talking on the phone literally every day for hours. And like I said, we were really learning one another. So
For me, I mean, I kind of look at that, especially in the age that we live in now. You have a lot of social media, you have a lot of technology, and a lot of time people filter their lives through that. So you see what they want you to see. They show you exactly what they want you to see. Even talking on the phone, they can say those things like you said. There is a span of what they call cloud nine or whatever. You're just on this emotional high for a good little while. Just a quick example, my wife, I already knew, going into any relationship, I already had a list of questions of what I knew I wasn't going to stand for. If I met a person that had A, B, or C, it wasn't any use for me trying to explore that even for the littlest amount of time, because I know myself. I learned myself a whole lot through the different relationships that I've had, going through a divorce. I've learned myself to a T.
yeah,
And so I knew that personality for me outweighed looks and beauty. I needed somebody whose personality could fit with mine because I know my personality. So when I met her, a funny story. She was a very organized, structured person to the point where I knew what she was doing every day for the week. You know, get up early, go to work. After work, go to the gym, home, up, work, gym, home. Like that was all week. And so we used to only go out on the weekends. So for me, being in everything that I was involved in, during the week, I know I'm gonna talk to her around 8 o'clock because that's when she gets home from the gym. I got all this time to do what I need to do, get what I need to get. And by the time I'm talking to her, you know, she probably thought I was sitting waiting on her, you know, to go. So when we got married, and she saw all the intricate things that I did, like, you got no time for me. We used to go out every weekend. Like, babe, you work during the week. I could do all this stuff during the week. So now that we're married, we're living together, you're starting to see some things that you didn't see when we lived together. I think in this society, that people kind of want to test drive the car before they buy it. You know, get some of the milk, you know, before they get the cow, if that's a good analogy to use, just in case, you know, they don't want it. The thing about, like you said, Christians and things like that, yes, we do subscribe to some type of foundational plateau or platform, but even in that, if you remove the religious aspect from it, you can still hold that up, and it still holds more weight to, just like you said, the chaos. I'm just gonna do what I feel, and everything has some type of, anything that's created have some type of purpose behind why it was created. These chairs, the purpose of the chair is to sit, right? But they can't just put the chairs out there. They say, hey, it has to have a certain amount of weight that it can hold. So before we put it out, we gotta make sure this thing can do. So I say that to say that, you know, with people, this is just my own little thing I subscribe to. If you're here for a purpose. Your job from that point is to figure out what that purpose is.
Well, let me segue in on what you're saying.